First, negative constructive. Opponent ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Judges ready?
Yes.
I must negate the resolution. Resolved. The right to be forgotten from internet searches ought to be a civil right. Before I continue, allow me to define a couple keywords. Civil right, a broad range of privileges and rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution. These freedoms include the right of free expression and action. In today's debate, we have to look at the individual and the impact of how society would be affected as a whole. Therefore, I provide the value of societal transparency. Through the NEG, we see that society as a whole is benefited in today's debate because we do not infringe on our amendment rights to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. If the affirmative was to win today, we would see not only our amendment rights taken away, but a sense of accountability that each individual has stripped from society as a whole. Because societal transparency has to be favored, the only real criterion we can use to achieve what society needs is minimal government regulation. What this means is we need as little government interaction with the internet as possible. Less government interference would preserve freedom from a tyrannical government that can control what we say, when we say it, and how it comes across to people. Contention 1. Regulating online privacy can destroy First Amendment rights. Adam Thierer, Spring 2013. The press is overstepping in every direction the obvious bounds of propriety and of decency. We already have a code of fair information practices, and it is the First Amendment which generally bars the government from controlling the communication of information, either by direct regulation or through the authorization of private lawsuits, or whether the communication is fair or not. If privacy rights could trump speech and press rights in the fashion Brandis and Warren suggested, a journalist would not be allowed to conduct her daily business without fear of running afoul of government regulation. Good reporting requires that journalists gather and report information, many of personal nature. If privacy rights were treated like intellectual property, robust privacy rights could trump free speech rights even when the information being collected or distributed was truthful. Such a situation would raise significant First Amendment issues even when mere data collection and dissemination are being undertaken. Impact. If you were to agree with the AF, you would be impending on our First Amendment rights. Just because you have what some people want doesn't mean you have all the information. The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. In other words, the First Amendment protects freedom of speech and provides us with what the ultimate answer to today's debate should be. Contention 2. The media acts as a watchdog to tyrannical government. The watchdog rule, Doug Bimmy, CNA in 2013. The watchdog rule requires the news media to provide a check on powerful sectors of society, including leaders within the private and public domains. Journalists are expected to guard the public interest and to protect it from incompetence, corruption, and misinformation. The available empirical evidence suggests that in many countries, the free press does indeed often promote transparency, but journalists are often faced with serious constraints and obstacles in this regard, especially in autocracies. Subpoint A, South African example. The case of South Africa exemplifies this relationship and the underlying factors in the relationship between a plural media system and government transparency. Following the transitional democratic elections in April 1994, the media landscape was transformed through substantial reforms, including the liberalization of state control of broadcasting, the diversification of the print sector, constitutional and legal guarantees of freedom of access to state-held information, and growing use of the internet. Deregulation in particular led to the proliferation of radio stations. Listeners to Johannesburg can tune into more than 40 radio stations, each giving information about they're targeted at different local neighborhoods or ethnic groups. The impact. South Africa actually went up in rank, proving that with less government interference, more information was made available to the public. Contention 3. An individual's safety is undermined if government impedes on rights. A right to be forgotten risks worse violations of privacy. Stephen Hermstruber, August 2013. If people anticipate that there is an option to escape the watchful gaze, this may ally their privacy fears. However, we lack a coherent account of political or potential behavioral effects of privacy fears, while a reduction of privacy fears might dampen chilling effects on liberty. Impact. A person in the ideal world of the app would be uneducated, and just like many of our citizens, should allow not just the government to steal their information, but also individuals who could easily steal private information. Now, this hurts society and the individual's right to freedom of speech. Now to my opponent's views. My opponent's value is the right to privacy. He states in his second contention that the right to privacy should be something of top priority given to people from the government. The definition of a democracy is the government gives as many rights to the citizens as they can with as little interference. So if they were using the internet to give people the right to privacy, they would be infringing infringing on other rights, including our First Amendment right. My opponent says in his first contention that it wouldn't affect the First Amendment. In reality, it would. Third parties would be posting things about, journalists would be posting things for information for the public, and if someone decided that they wanted to delete something, then it would be infringing on that person's First Amendment, and it would be making the society, and it would harm the society because those people wouldn't be able to see what was happening in the society, and they wouldn't be able to be prepared for that. My opponent states that the information would not be topical anymore, and that it would be useless information. Now, this information, if it was useless, we wouldn't really need a way to delete it because it would be useless and there wouldn't be any effect on the government or the people or the society and all. And his value, the right to privacy, and his criterion of protection of individual rights. Individual rights are given by the government, and again, the democracy. He states that it's America, or he states that the resolution is mostly about America and about other countries that are trying to give civil rights. So with our democracy, they're trying not to infringe, and they're giving as many rights to us as they can, and they're giving us individual rights, but when they go into the internet, and it's something that we have, that we treasure every single day, then they're going to be infringing on different rights, which totally crosses out his first contention, which is in sync with other rights, because if we have that right, then it's going to be affecting the other rights that we have. I'm open for cross-examination.
Well, got